June 8, 2023, 4:47 a.m. Verbove, Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Ukrainian assault force begins advance. 47 Western tanks, Leopard 2A6, Challenger 2s, 63 Bradley fighting vehicles, 2,000 soldiers. Objective: break through Russian defensive lines at Verbove. Advance toward Tokmak. Sever land bridge to Crimea. This is main effort. Months of preparation, NATO training, Western equipment, everything ready. Assault begins. Lead vehicles advance 500 meters. Then first mine detonates. Leopard 2 immobilized. Track destroyed. Crew evacuates. Second mine. Third mine. Bradley hits mine. Fourth vehicle. Fifth. Mine clearing operations begin. Slow. Under fire. Russian artillery opens up. Krasnopol guided shells. Lancet loitering munitions. First hour, 16 vehicles destroyed or immobilized. Zero breakthrough achieved. Assault is stalling before even reaching first defensive line. The assault continues. Engineers clear mines. Infantry advances. Takes casualties. Russian defensive fires intensify. Artillery. Drones. Anti-tank missiles. Ukrainian forces push forward. Slowly. Expensively. By noon, penetrated 2 kilometers. Cost: 31 vehicles destroyed. 400 casualties. This is 2 kilometers in 6 hours. At this rate, reaching Tokmak takes months. Casualties become unsustainable before breakthrough achieved. Afternoon. Assault stalls completely. Minefields too dense. Artillery too accurate. Drones too numerous. Counter battery insufficient. Can't suppress Russian fires. Can't clear mines fast enough. Can't advance without unacceptable losses. Evening. Withdrawal begins. Not rout. Professional extraction. But offensive failed. Breakthrough didn't happen. Won't happen here. Not with current capabilities. Not against these defenses. At 11:47 p.m. June 8th, 19 hours after offensive began, Ukrainian forces consolidate at start positions. Assessment is grim. 47 tanks committed, 16 destroyed, 12 damaged, 19 operational. Bradleys, 41 operational of 63. Casualties, 180 dead, 420 wounded. Territorial gain 2 kilometers. Lost next day to counterattack. Net gain 0. Offensive failed. Not because forces were incompetent, because defenses were too strong, because minefields were too extensive, because Russian artillery had months to prepare, because breakthrough without air superiority against prepared peer defenses is nearly impossible. This is Verbove. This is why Ukrainian summer offensive failed. This is what happens when NATO equipment meets Russian preparation, meets reality of modern defensive warfare. This is Iron Bullet. And what happened at Verbove wasn't Ukrainian failure. Was demonstration that offense is catastrophically difficult against prepared peer defenses in 2023, where minefields extend kilometers deep, where artillery can see and hit attacking armor from beyond visual range, where drones hunt vehicles individually, where breakthrough requires capabilities Ukraine doesn't have: air superiority, massive fire support, overwhelming numerical advantage. Ukraine had Western equipment, had training, had determination, didn't have air superiority, didn't have fire superiority, didn't have numerical advantage, had courage and technology. Wasn't enough. The question isn't whether Ukrainian forces fought well. They did. Question is why breakthrough failed despite months of preparation and Western equipment. What specific defensive capabilities stopped assault? And what this reveals about modern warfare when defender has months to prepare and attacker lacks air superiority. Official Ukrainian statements after Verbove: understated. Difficult conditions, enemy defenses stronger than expected. No mention of casualties. No acknowledgement that offensive stalled. Just vague references to ongoing operations. Reality was assault failed. Breakthrough didn't happen. Strategic objectives unachieved. Statements were damage control. Not deception exactly. Just incomplete truth. Offensive failed. Admitting this helps nobody. So didn't admit explicitly. Just stopped attacking Verbove. Tried elsewhere. Failed elsewhere too. Pattern was clear. Breakthrough was impossible. Statements never said this explicitly. Russian statements triumphant. Enemy offensive defeated. Western equipment destroyed. Videos showing knocked out Leopards and Bradleys. Propaganda value immense. Ukrainian offensive did fail. Western equipment was destroyed. Russian defenses did hold. Propaganda doesn't make it less true. Just makes it more useful to Russia. Ukrainian command knows this. Can't counter with own propaganda. Can only continue trying, failing, adjusting, trying elsewhere. Eventually accepting that breakthrough isn't achievable. Stay with me, because the detail that explains Verbove failure, why 2 kilometers cost 47 vehicles and 600 casualties, is going to show you that Russian defenses were optimized specifically to stop NATO tactics. 8 months of preparation, minefields kilometers deep, artillery with perfect observation from prepared positions, drones everywhere, all coordinated, all designed to stop exactly the assault Ukraine attempted. Western equipment is good. Russian defenses were better prepared. This is why breakthrough failed. Not equipment failure, not tactical failure. Strategic impossibility. Can't break through prepared peer defenses without air superiority and massive fire advantage. Ukraine had neither. Tried anyway because political pressure demanded offensive. Military reality stopped it. Minefields, artillery, drones, reality. Let's establish what Verbove assault actually was. What failed? Why it failed? Verbove sector. Southern Ukraine, Russian defensive lines. Built over 8 months. Multiple layers. First minefield. Extensive. Anti-tank. Anti-personnel. Mixed. Kilometers deep. Not single line. Cleared paths just reveal next minefield. Second, Dragon's Teeth. Concrete obstacles. Channel vehicles into kill zones. Where artillery pre-registered. Where anti-tank positions prepared. Third, trenches. Fighting positions. Hardened bunkers. Infantry positions with overlapping fields of fire. Fourth, artillery positions. Behind terrain, protected, with perfect observation of approach routes. Fifth, reserves, mobile forces, counter-attack capability. Everything integrated, everything rehearsed, everything ready for exactly the assault Ukraine attempted. Ukrainian assault force, best equipment available. Leopard 2 A6 tanks, best Western armor, Challenger 2, British heavy tank, Bradley fighting vehicles, infantry carriers with capable weapons, supporting artillery, M777 howitzers, HIMARS for deep strikes, drones for reconnaissance, everything NATO doctrine recommends, everything except air superiority. That's missing. Russian air defense prevents Ukrainian aircraft from operating over battlefield. S-300, S-400, TOR systems. Others, Ukrainian planes can't suppress Russian artillery, can't attack Russian positions directly. Ground forces fight alone, without air cover, against prepared defenses. This is decisive. Breakthrough without air support against peer defenses. Nearly impossible. Ukraine tried anyway. June 8th, the assault, hour by hour. What 2,000 Ukrainians experienced. 4:47 a.m. Assault begins. Lead vehicles advance. Mine rollers forward. Clearing paths. Slow process. Under observation. Russian forces watching. Waiting. Let Ukrainians commit. Let them advance into prepared positions. Then engage. This is doctrine. Let enemy expose themselves. Then destroy them in kill zones. Ukrainians advance cautiously, professionally, knowing danger, accepting risk, because orders require advance. 5:30 a.m. First mines detonate. Despite mine clearing, minefields are too dense. Can't find all mines. Some vehicles hit mines. Immobilized. Recovery attempts begin up. Under fire. Russian artillery engages. Not random harassing fire. Precision strikes on immobilized vehicles. On recovery operations. On concentration points. Artillery has perfect observation and drone spotting. Pre-registered coordinates. Accuracy is devastating. Ukrainian counter-battery attempts. Insufficient. Can't suppress all Russian gun. Can't locate all positions. Russian artillery behind terrain. Protected. Shooting with impunity. 7 a.m. Assault is slowing. 16 vehicles immobilized or destroyed. Mine clearing too slow. Casualties mounting. Infantry attempts to advance on foot. Gets pinned by machine gun fire. Artillery fire. Drone strikes. FPV kamikaze drones hit vehicles individually. Thermal cameras see through smoke. See through cover. Find targets. Ukrainian forces adapted to drones. Disperse. Take cover. Slow advance even more. Trade off. Survive drones. Advance slowly. Or advance quickly. Die. Choose survive. Accept slow progress. 9 a.m. Penetration 1 kilometer. 4 hours. 16 vehicles lost. This is unsustainable. At this rate, Tokmak is 40 days away. Casualties are catastrophic long before then. Ukrainian commanders recognize this. Orders are continued. Offensive must succeed. Political pressure. International expectations. Can't stop after one morning. Must try. Must push. Must hope something breaks. Russian defenses aren't breaking. Ukrainian forces are 12:09 p.m. noon. 6 hours into assault. Penetration 2 kilometers. 31 vehicles destroyed or damaged. 400 casualties. Assault has reached first Russian defensive line. Not breached it. Reached it. Russian infantry in trenches. Fighting positions. Hardened. Supplied. Determined. Ukrainian forces assault. With infantry. Supported by remaining armor. Brutal close combat. Ukrainians take positions. Suffer heavy casualties doing so. Russians counterattack. Retake position. Ukrainian forces assault again. Pattern repeats. Grinding combat. No breakthrough. Just attrition. Both sides bleeding. Ukrainians bleeding more. Because attacking. Because exposed. Because Russian artillery pounds every position taken. 3 p.m. Afternoon. Assault stalls. Can't advance further. First defensive line is contested. Not breached. Fighting continues. Casualties accumulate. Vehicle losses accumulate. Ammunition expenditure is enormous. Sustainability becomes questioned. Can continue. Yes. Can succeed. Unknown. Can afford casualties. That's the question commanders can answer. Orders say continue. Reality says stop. Gap between them is measured in bodies. 6:30 p.m. Evening. Ukrainian command makes decision. Can't break through here. Defense is too strong. Casualties too high. We'll try different axes. Verbove assault is ending. Not with dramatic retreat. Just operational pause that becomes permanent. Forces withdraw. Professionally. Covered. Protected. Most vehicles extract. Most soldiers survived. Offensive failed, but force preserved for future operation, for defense, for survival. This is rational decision, bitter decision, but rational. Now the analysis. Why assault failed. What it means. Minefield dominance. Russian minefields were a decisive obstacle. Multiple belts, kilometers deep, mixed types, created slow zones, where mine clearing took hours. Under fire, each kilometer required clearing. Each clearing operation was vulnerable. Artillery, drones, covered minefields, killed engineers, destroyed mine clearing equipment, slowed assault to crawl, allowed Russian artillery to engage deliberately, pick off vehicles individually. Minefields didn't stop assault alone, created conditions for other defenses to work. That's their purpose. Succeeded perfectly. Air superiority requirement. Breakthrough doctrine requires air superiority. Suppress enemy artillery. Strike enemy positions. Provide close air support. Ukraine had none of this. Russian air defense prevented Ukrainian air operations. Ground forces fought unsupported against enemy with perfect observation and protected artillery. This is suicide mission parameters. Ukrainian forces tried anyway, failed predictably, not because incompetent, because task was impossible without air support. Modern combined arms requires air component. Ukraine didn't have it. Offensive suffered accordingly. Artillery asymmetry. Russian artillery had every advantage. Observation from prepared positions. Defensive terrain protecting guns. Pre-registered coordinates. Drone spotting. Ukrainian counter battery was inadequate. Couldn't suppress Russian fires. Couldn't find all positions. Couldn't destroy prepared hardened positions. Ukrainian artillery tried, failed. Russian artillery pounded Ukrainian forces continuously. This asymmetry was decisive. Assault can succeed when artillery suppression fails. Ukrainian artillery suppression failed. Assault failed consequently. Equipment versus preparation. Western equipment proved vulnerable, not because inferior, because Russian defenses were specifically prepared to counter NATO tactics. 8 months preparation studied NATO doctrine, built defenses specifically to stop it, minefields against armor, artillery against concentration, drones against individual vehicles, anti-tank missiles from prepared positions. Everything optimized. Western equipment is good. Russian preparation was specifically anti-Western equipment. Preparation 1. Technology wasn't enough without tactics that exploited technology. Tactics required air superiority. The air superiority was absent. Technology was insufficient alone. Strategic impossibility. Breakthrough against prepared peer defenses without air superiority is nearly impossible historically. Ukraine attempted this. Failed as history predicted. This isn't Ukrainian failure. It's strategic reality. Modern defenses are too strong. Modern weapons too lethal. Modern reconnaissance too thorough. Attacker needs overwhelming advantages. Ukraine had training and equipment. Needed air superiority. Needed fire superiority. Needed numerical superiority. Had none of this. Had bravery. Had determination. Had technology. Wasn't enough. Strategic impossibility remains impossible regardless of courage. Verbove proved this. 3 questions from the beginning. Time to answer them. Why did breakthrough fail despite Western equipment? Equipment wasn't enough. Russian defenses were specifically prepared to counter NATO tactics. Minefields slowed advance. Artillery killed exposed forces. Drones hunted vehicles. Anti-tank missiles from prepared positions. Ukrainian forces couldn't suppress these threats without air superiority. couldn't maneuver around minefields fast enough, couldn't achieve breakthrough. Equipment helps, doesn't guarantee victory. Russian preparation neutralized equipment advantages. Breakthrough failed because defense was too strong. Strong defense defeats strong attack when defender prepares and attacker lacks air superiority. What specific defensive capabilities stopped assault? Minefields primarily. Created slow zones, forced exposure, allowed artillery to engage deliberately. Artillery secondary, protected positions, perfect observation, precision strikes. Drones tertiary, individual targeting, psychological pressure. Combined arms integration was key. Each defensive component enabled others. Minefields slowed attack. Artillery struck exposed forces. Drones hunted survivors. Infantry held positions. Reserves counterattacked penetrations. Everything worked together. Stopped assault completely. This integration is why defense succeeded, not single capability. Combined system. What does this reveal about modern warfare? Defense dominates offense when defender prepares and attacker lacks air superiority. This is established military principle. Verbove confirmed it 2023. Minefields, artillery, drones, anti-tank weapons. All favor defender. Attacker needs air superiority to suppress defenses, needs fire superiority to destroy defenses, needs numerical superiority to overwhelm defenses, or accepts casualties that democratic nations can't sustain. Ukraine had none of these advantages, tried breakthrough anyway, failed predictably. Lesson is clear. Modern breakthrough against peer defenses requires capabilities Ukraine didn't have. Without those capabilities, often expensive, unsuccessful. This is current reality. Verbove proved it. The lesson from Verbove is that technology alone doesn't guarantee breakthrough. Russian defenses were optimized against NATO tactics, prepared for 8 months. Ukrainian forces had good equipment, good training, good tactics, didn't have air superiority, didn't have fire superiority, didn't have numerical advantage, had courage and technology, wasn't enough. Offensive failed, not because Ukrainian forces failed, because task was impossible with available means. Strategic leadership should have recognized this, delayed offensive until conditions improved, or accepted limited objectives. Instead, attempted breakthrough that was strategically impossible. Forces paid price, 600 casualties, 47 vehicles, 2 kilometers gained then lost. Nothing accomplished except proving what should have been obvious. Can't break through prepared peer defenses without overwhelming advantages Ukraine didn't have. This is Iron Bullet. We analyze battles that define wars. Verbove defined Ukrainian counteroffensive 2023, showed limitations of Western equipment without Western air support, showed Russian defensive preparation was effective, showed that modern warfare favors defender overwhelmingly when attacker lacks air superiority. Ukrainian forces fought professionally, bravely, suffered for strategic decisions they didn't make. Offensive was ordered. This isn't Ukrainian military failure. It's strategic planning failure. Expecting breakthrough without conditions that enable breakthrough. Verbove failed. Other sectors failed. Pattern-proved offensive was premature. Attempted anyway. Casualties proved cost. Strategic situation unchanged proved futility. Hard lessons. Expensive lessons. Still unlearned by some. Verbove teaches modern defense dominates modern offense without air superiority. This is reality. Ignoring reality costs lives. Ukraine paid that cost at Verbove, elsewhere, throughout summer 2023. Subscribe to Iron Bullet, because in modern warfare, understanding operational requirements matters more than courage or equipment quality. Ukraine had courage, had equipment, lacked air superiority, lacked fire superiority, lacked numerical advantage, attempted breakthrough anyway, failed predictably. Verbove is case study, shows why breakthrough against prepared defenses requires specific capabilities, shows cost of attempting without those capabilities, shows reality of modern defensive warfare. Technology matters, training matters, courage matters, air superiority matters more. Without it, breakthrough against peer defenses becomes nearly impossible. Verbove proved this. Ukrainian casualties proved this. Failed offensive proved this. Lesson is expensive, is permanent, is relevant to every future conflict. Modern defense is too strong. Modern offense requires overwhelming advantages. Without them, fail. Verbove is proof. 2,000 soldiers, 47 Western tanks, 19 hours, 600 casualties, 2 kilometers gained, then lost. Offensive failed. That's Verbove. That's Ukrainian counter-offensive 2023. That's reality when attempting impossible. Equipment helps, training helps, courage helps, air superiority required, artillery superiority required, numerical superiority required. None were adequate. Offensive attempted, offensive failed. Lessons learned expensively, by blood, by vehicles, by broken expectations. Verbove failed. Other operations failed. Summer offensive achieved minimal gains at catastrophic cost.